Breaking news out of the NFL, where Washington Commanders quarterback Carson Wentz could be out 4 to 6 weeks with a fractured finger on his throwing hand. That's according to NFL Network, which adds a stint on injured reserve is a possibility. Now, Wentz was injured the first half of Washington's win over the Bears on Thursday night, that 12-7 thriller. Taylor Heinecke would be in line to start in his place, starting with Sunday's game against the Packers. The Commanders also have rookie Sam Howell on the roster. As you take a look at their schedule, I mean, if he's out for 4 weeks, he could return versus Houston on November the 20th. If he takes the full 6, they have back-to-back games against the Giants around the bye week, bookending the bye week. So either way, he could face the Giants before the bye, or they could just hold him out, and he could face the Giants afterwards. Let's welcome in fantasy expert Jamey Eisenberg to get his reaction to this. And Jamey, the impact of this on the fantasy football world, I mean, what kind of an impact is there with Wentz now out possibly for 4 to 6 weeks?
How are we going to live without Carson Wentz? We're going to struggle. I mean, it's been such a fantastic season so far. The hope would be is that Taylor Heinecke does get the opportunity to be the guy for Washington, and he unleashes Scary Terry. It's almost Halloween. We need to get some Terry McLaurin. It's been frustrating for him. You know, I think what we've seen from Carson Wentz, and there's a credit to him to some extent, is that he spread the ball around. You know, Curtis Samuels had a nice little run. Unfortunately, had a bad drop on Thursday night against the Bears. But we'll see what happens when Logan Thomas comes back, when Jahan Dotson comes back. But the nice thing would be is that Terry McLaurin could get going, because that's kind of been Taylor Heineke's guy. But at this point, I think, you know, Wentz has been sort of a fill-in quarterback, a number 2 option, and 2 quarterback in Superflex leagues. He's easy to replace with somebody like Taylor Heinecke because the production's been all over the place. You won't have the ceiling that you got from Carson Wentz, but you probably have a little bit safer floor because Heinecke won't make as many mistakes. And so, again, the big thing would be is, can you keep the weapons afloat, get the best out of Terry McLaurin, maybe keep Curtis Samuel at the level that he's been at, get Jahan Dotson back on the field. He's been dealing with a hamstring injury. Keep him in the end zone. We'll see what happens when Logan Thomas comes back. But for this week, this is the opportunity to establish the run for Washington, because the Packers can't stop anything on the ground. So let's get a lot more Brian Robinson. That was fun on Thursday night.
Yeah, Brian Robinson, Antonio Gibson, of course, 2 guys. And Robinson, obviously a guy that a lot of fantasy people have been targeting, kind of holding on to him, waiting for that breakout. He got that first touchdown last week. But Jamey, in terms of the difference between Wentz and Heinecke, is there a significant difference? Is that why you're really not taking a big step if you take one versus the other?
There's a much higher ceiling with Wentz when he's on his game, and we've seen that a few times already this season. You go back to week 1 and week 2 when there were favorable matchups. Then you've kind of seen the flaws, and that's what's been the problem for him for the majority of the last 3 weeks. You know, we've just seen some poor play. He makes some bonehead decisions. It's why Ron Rivera said after the first week why he keeps a pack of antacids in his pocket. You know, just knowing that there's going to be some ups and downs with Carson Wentz, but. You know, I think the thing that you look at with Heinecke is he's not going to just necessarily have those big plays, but he's also probably not going to have those boneheaded turnovers from time to time. And so we saw this with Heinecke last year. You know, he'll get his playmakers the ball when they need to. I hope, again, this is the opportunity that Terry McLaurin needs, because he just hasn't gotten the targets that we look for. And so get McLaurin going. You know, again, keep Curtis Samuel involved to whatever level they need to. Jahan Dotson's the future of this receiving corps, so get him going when he's back on the field. And then hopefully we just see some, you know, production from this Washington offense. But I do think they're going to focus on the run, you know, kind of coinciding with Brian Robinson coming back the last 2 weeks. That should be good for this Washington offense.
Jamey, who stands to benefit the most from this, or could potentially benefit the most from this?
The Washington defense, because they might not be on the field as much because of the turnovers. I think, again, it's Terry McLaurin. You know, you go back to what McLaurin's dealt with prior to Carson Wentz. Wentz has never really been a guy that's had the opportunity or taken advantage of, you know, featuring a number 1 type of guy. You know, you go back to Philadelphia, we had some good moments from Alshon Jeffrey. It's been a lot of the tight ends, you know, so this is an opportunity, I think, for Terry McLaurin to, I think, maybe have a private conversation with Taylor Heinecke and say, listen, I'm your guy. Give me the ball. Give me 10-plus targets on a week-to-week basis. You know, that could be Scott Turner, could be the offense, but I do hope that as we get closer to Halloween, Scary Terry shows up and puts up some big numbers.
And as you mentioned, Jahan Dotson, get him going as well when he returns. Fantasy expert Jamey Eisenberg joining us to discuss the breaking news out of the NFL. Washington Commanders will be without quarterback Carson Wentz for the next 4 to 6 weeks. A stint on injured reserve is also being reported as a possibility. And for more on this, and I mean, as Jamey said, how do we survive without Carson Wentz playing football in the National Football League for the next few weeks? Well, find out how the guys break it down on Fantasy Football Today. You can download and follow wherever you get your podcast audio.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.